Okay, so I think we're about to begin. I think most people are here. So I just kind of wanted to let you guys know who I am. I'm going to be our little host for the evening. My name is Eve. I am a senior at Urbana. I I guess I'll do my intended areas of interest. My intended areas are like sociology and political science. Um, I am with the PTSA student ambassadors, as I stated earlier. And we have like a few other seniors. I think you all just joined you all as one of our student ambassadors. And then we have a bunch of people from different grades that are student ambassadors, and we're all kind of putting this together. And then we also have Miss Stuckemeyer, who is our college and career readiness coordinator counselor. She is wonderful. And so we also have Kanita, who is the host of this event. And then we have some special guests tonight. So Erin is going to be our kind of like presenter. She's in undergraduate admissions. And so we're actually going to start with our how to get into college presentation that Erin's going to put on. So I know some of your credentials. I'll just shout them out there. You're the Senior Assistant Director at the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at the U of I, which sounds like a really fun job, honestly. And then we also are going to do a Q&A after Erin's presentation with Susan Roughton, who was our PTSA president last year, and is the U of I is one of the academic advisors at the U of I. And then we're also going to have Santi, who is a freshman at Cornell, recent UHS graduate. And then I think we also have Maddie, who is also a recent UHS grad, which is epic. And then, yeah. So they're all going to be here to answer questions. And then also Miss Stuckemeyer, she's always here to answer your questions. So we'll do that after Erin's presentation. And then if we don't get through all of the questions, I'm marking down the ones that we don't get through, and we will send you an email following up on everything. Anyway, does anyone have any questions before we begin? I don't think so. Okay. Erin, if you want to go ahead, you can begin your presentation whenever.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eve. Appreciate
Yeah,
the introduction. Like she said, my name is Erin Schoonover, Senior Assistant Director within the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. So happy to be joining you guys this evening. My recruitment territory is Champaign County. So I have to, travel really far to go to Urbana High School to see everybody. So kind of nice having the local schools. I don't have to go very far. I can just pop out of my office, come over and see you. So, and like Eve said, it is a very fun job. This is why I'm now in my 13th year within undergraduate admissions. So, yes, I am going to share my screen to go over some information. I'll try to stay within the time limit that I have so that we can also get to the Q&A, because I can get pretty wordy and pretty lengthy with this. So let me go ahead and get this pulled up. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see the screen that I am sharing now. So I was kind of asked to just talk about applying to colleges, and I'll try to keep it a little bit broad, but there will be some Illinois specifics to it. And I was also kind of asked to talk just a little bit about majors, also specifically the Division of General Studies. So I do kind of want to start on the major aspect of it. At the University of Illinois, we do have over 150 majors, so a lot to choose from. That's kind of nice. When you go to a larger institution, they have so many programs that even if you come in as undeclared, you're going to have pretty much anything and everything you can think of once you figure out what that route is. Specifically with the Division of General Studies, that is for students who come in undeclared. We probably see about 20% of our incoming freshman class who comes in as undeclared, and that is okay. You don't necessarily have to know your major right away. And students can stay in undeclared for up to 2 years. And the nice thing about that program is they get to do exploratory classes. So maybe a student's thinking, oh, I might be interested in advertising, or I might be interested in psychology. They can take an intro to advertising course or an intro to psychology course, maybe figure out, oh, I didn't like advertising, but I like psychology. Great. But then you might be worried, oh, did I just take an advertising class for no reason and it doesn't really count for anything? No, it will count for a general education course. So that's pretty cool how they have it set up so that you can explore and take those courses and you're not necessarily wasting time. Fortunately for our institution, no matter what you want to study, it is going to be a quality ranked program. Across all the degrees, students are highly sought after. One thing that will make our institution a little bit different, especially compared to our peers in the Big Ten, is that outside of undeclared, if you're not sure what you want to study, and that is okay, but if you kind of know what you want to do, you're leaning towards biology, maybe you want to be a pre-medicine student, you do list that major directly on the application for admission. And then if we admit you, you are in that program from day one. So that is a little bit different because if you look at a lot of our peers within the Big Ten, you might just apply to that university. And then if you're admitted, you'll go through general education courses, figuring out what you want to study. And then a little bit later in the process, you will apply into the specific major that you are wanting. So those are those variances you get between different institutions in how you apply, but just kind of something to keep in mind with the different programs. So let me talk a little bit about the application process here as I continue to admit families here into the virtual event. Okay. So I want to talk about application dates and deadlines. Now, these are for this cycle. Please know that if you happen to be a junior or a sophomore, dates will be pretty similar, but they could change. So for our process, we do have what we call early action. I want to differentiate this from early decision. There are some universities that operate off of early decision, which means if you were to apply to that school, like, for example, I think Northwestern, University of Chicago, they have early decision. And if you are admitted to that institution, you have to attend. And then you have to withdraw your applications from all the other institutions you applied to. Early action is non-binding in the sense that if you are admitted to the institution, you still will have until May 1st to accept or decline your offer. So that will be the difference. We have early action. It gives you priority in the review process, which I think is really important. And you're going to get your admission decision sooner, which who doesn't want to find out their decision sooner? And then in terms of scholarships and honors, at least for our process, we use the application for admission. So if you also apply early, you're going to get priority in review for honors and scholarships. Now, students who apply by regular decision, which is January 5th, they will get their decision in early March. So really this timeline is during the fall semester of your senior year. So probably even prior to getting to the fall semester of senior year, maybe you're doing campus visits at different institutions. So maybe you know what institutions you are wanting to apply to. Now, at least for our institution, we have two ways that you can apply to the university. My Illini is our internal homegrown application system. We designed it specifically for our university and kind of how we go through our review process. And then there's Common App. Common App is a third-party application system. It allows you to apply to a variety of institutions at one time. We have no preference between the two, and we ask the exact same information. So it kind of depends which one you prefer to use. Some institutions may still use the coalition application. That's also another third-party application that you will be able to potentially apply to other universities through. Now, we do not use Coalition. We just use the two that you see listed here on the screen, but that's another one that you might see when you're looking at universities for the application process. Now, one thing that I do want to mention that is more specific to Illinois here is the difference between My Illini and Common App, because there is one very distinct difference that sometimes can help maybe determine which application platform that you would like to use. So with the Common application, for our process, it is a self-reported academic record. And so we do not need a transcript. Some schools may request it, but we do not. We cannot use the Common App self-reported academic record, and I won't bore you with the details as to why, but because of that, after you submit the application, it will be about 48 hours later, you get an email to then go through the My Illini account to do that self-reported academic record. So it's a two-step process. It kind of makes the process a little bit longer because you can't just get it done in one sitting. So something to keep in mind with that. Which then, if applying Common App, definitely give yourself a little of extra time before November 1st as well. Now, I do want to talk a little bit more about self-reported academic records, because when you are required to do this, we do expect that you will self-report your courses and grades exactly as they appear on your transcript, because we will ultimately verify that later after you've graduated from high school if you are choosing to attend the institution. So be sure you get a copy of your transcript, even if it's an unofficial transcript, so you can be sure that matches, because you will self-report courses for years 9 through 11 and the grades for those respective courses. And then courses for year 12 are left in progress. At no point during our process are we going to ask for any grades for year 12. We will evaluate senior year after you've graduated high school. So it's one of those things of, if we are admitting, it is in good faith that you will successfully complete senior year. Now, I do briefly want to address test optional before I get to some of the writing components here and kind of giving you some tips and tricks with that. We are test optional. Actually, every state institution in Illinois is test optional, and a lot of other institutions throughout the nation. So it is up to you as the student to make this decision. I know that's stressful, might add anxiety to the process. I think back to when I applied and I didn't have a choice. I had to take the ACT and submit it, and you didn't have to really think about that. But we do put middle 50% profile ranges on our website that you can look at. The ranges are a little bit higher because when you think about test optional, and when you have that decision, we're seeing more students who choose to apply have a higher test score. And so that does change the averages when you look at that data. But it is something still that can be used to help make that determination. We also encourage that you sort of reflect on if you feel like the test scores are an accurate reflection of your academic ability. That's another thing to kind of consider. The biggest thing that I want to mention is it is okay to apply test optional. If you do not want to submit your scores, it does not disadvantage you in any way within the review process. There will still be plenty there within the high school academic record. I think sometimes we're also asked, well, then why should I submit my scores? I think if you have a score that you are proud of and it is reflective of your academic ability, that just kind of coincides with your high school record. And we're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. We see the high school performance here and they got the score, you know. It just kind of adds another a validating point. But again, it doesn't have to be there. It is okay to be test optional. So I do want to talk specifically about our major specific prompts. It's a little unique how we have our set up. This is because of the direct admission process. There are more general prompts for Division of General Studies. So for the major specific prompts, there will be 2 of them for the first choice major that you list on the application. And with the first choice major, so you'll have the 2 of them. You have 150 words for each. Okay, so many times when you are writing this for our campus or another institution, they have word limits. I promise you, we notice the difference between a student who writes 25 words and somebody who writes 130 words. It is important to see that effort and that thought process through that. Okay. The other thing, and it may sort of seem silly or odd, but actually answering the prompt that we ask. So the two prompts that we have are, one, explain your experience in or outside the classroom with your major. But the one that really trips students up is their career goals after graduating from Illinois. I've seen students who sometimes talk about, I want to join the rocketry team, and I can't wait to study abroad in Paris, France. And then I'm really excited to take CS 205, and then I also really want to take biology 325. And I think I want to do research with Professor James Smith on galaxy systems. That does not answer post-career graduation goals. So I think depends the institution, but for us, sometimes I think students think they need to talk about what they want to do at Illinois, or they need to show the research that they have done. And that's not necessarily the case. Now, the last thing I will leave you with for the writing, and then I want to get to the Q&A, because again, I know I can get a little wordy here. The Common App essay prompt, so even if you apply My Illini, you will have that there. Again, it has a word limit, so this one's a little bit bigger. I'm not saying you have to write 650 words, but your free creative space, again, putting some thought into this. I can't stress enough, proofreading what you have written, or working with your counselor, or having a parent or a teacher, somebody else to kind of maybe double check that, proofread it for you, or have somebody else look at it, maybe give you some pointers. Having another set of eyes on that really helps. So like I said, writing more than 1 or 2 sentences, putting that effort in there, definitely answering the prompt based upon how it's asked, and proofread. So those are kind of my tips. Obviously, I want to be cognizant of time, so I will leave it here with the writing portions, because that's one of the last big components you see within applications after academics and involvement. So
thank you so much, Erin.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like that was really helpful and a lot of good, valuable information. So thank you again.
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of as you were referencing too, we are now going to move into our Q&A portion. So when you guys like registered for this event, we asked if you have any questions. And so I'm going to read aloud like some of those questions, and then the 5 people that I talked about earlier are going to help answer those questions. And then anything that we don't get to, we will follow up on through email, or you can check our website, which I'm going to put in the chat later. Okay, so the first question was referring to, how do I get into college, or how do I accurately represent myself to colleges if I have a low GPA that I'm trying to get up and I need help with it?
That is a great question. So I would say for this one, and specifically for us, there is a question on the application that asks about other academic challenges, or if you had dip in grades. And you can explain that to us within the application as to maybe what was going on or what impacted it at that time. So definitely please include that in the application. You know, sometimes for some students, we are having to discuss going the transfer route, and that is a perfectly okay route, because the transfer route can also give you that fresh start. You know, if you're taking classes at Parkland College, for example, or wanted to pursue Parkland pathways, but just be transparent, explain it on the application, because if you don't explain it, we're left to assume, and you don't want us to assume. So please just be transparent with it.
I think that's a really solid answer. Does anyone have any other advice?
Yeah, I'm somebody who had low grades, like somebody where it was something that I was definitely insecure about. when I was applying. And being transparent, like Erin said, is a very good idea. Also, I just think it's really important to have like an adult or somebody that you trust look over your explanation, because there's a lot of articles coming out about how colleges do not want to deal with certain students who deal with like depression, and it's almost an unspoken rule. And so you want to have you want to make sure you're explaining it and you're framing it the right way so you don't come off a certain way. And you just want to be very straightforward and not leave, like Erin said, you don't really want to leave something up to interpretation. You kind of just want to be as straightforward as possible when in your explanation. I'm somebody who I had an explanation in my application, and even with schools that do not have a question like the U of I's where it's like explain a dip in grades, there is a space on the Common App that says, is there any additional information you'd need? And that's a great space to explain your grades or just explain your situation. If you were taking care of your siblings, if you had to work a job, all of these things, they take away from school. And it's important to just mention them to admissions officers so they understand the full picture of your situation. And yeah.
Yeah. Susan, I know you're an academic advisor, so if you have anything to add to any of that, you can do that now. And if not, we can move on to the next question.
Hi there. Yeah, I am an academic advisor at U of I, and part of my role is working with students who are applying to the programs that I administer. And I've been doing that type of work for over 20 years. As Erin said, I really love doing admissions work. It's exciting because you're at the beginning of something, and something that I enjoy about this process is like kind of hearing the excitement that an applicant may have for my program or my university that I'm representing. And I think that's a good thing to have in your essay, in your application, generally speaking, like excitement or enthusiasm. You're getting more and more universities, not everyone, but are doing more of a holistic review of your application. So if they are asking for something in your application, there's a person or a committee of people who are interested. They're reading all the different things that you submit, and it's a chance for you to shape your own narrative. You do want to be transparent if you have generally low grades, or if you had one semester when your grades tanked because there's something going on. I think it is really a good idea to explain what happened. If it was just one semester and it was COVID, or there was an illness in the family or with yourself, very targeted and specific to that time period, then but the rest of the time your grades were very strong, that usually puts an admissions person at ease, because they're saying, no, the trend is that the student is very strong, and the low grades were contained to one time period. Also, upward trends are something that's usually favorably looked at. So if, like a freshman year, you were having a rough start, you didn't really know how to do home, to study yet, or you weren't used to the rigor of high school work, maybe your grades were a little lower. But if they improved each year as you became more familiar with that higher rigor work, then those earlier grades might be excused. If your grades really are low, then you can do research about the different schools that you're interested in and see what they're looking for in an applicant. I just Googled EIU, Eastern Illinois University, which is nearby and a very good university, and they're looking for about a 2.5 on a 4-point scale for admission to their university. So that's B-, C+ area. So if you're thinking, oh my God, I don't have perfect grades, nobody's going to accept me. That's not the case. There are some highly competitive universities that are looking for, mostly A's, but that is not every single college. And if high school was really rough and it wasn't a true representation of your ability, then we have Parkland College, and community college can be a great place to kind of restart and have a fresh start. So
Thank you. So I'm going to cut you off because we only have 5 minutes left, but thank you guys, all three of you, for answering that question, because I think that is definitely a big deterrent for students applying to colleges because they just don't feel like they can get in. But, always go for it and always make sure to be transparent, as everyone said, because that's really the most important thing, because admissions officers don't know you. So they only know what you give them. Another big question was kind of how soon should a high schooler start planning for college? So I think this is more targeted towards our juniors and sophomores. But if anyone wants to briefly touch on, how soon or like how early in high school would be ideal, but also if you are like in your senior year or you're in your junior year, what can you do?
I'll go ahead and start the answer for this one. I think it's never too early to start. I think you guys should start as soon as possible. I would encourage you to start researching, schools, different careers. All of those things can happen early on in high school. And then as you move along throughout high school, you can become a little more specific about, which schools you're really interested in, and which majors you really want to pursue. So I don't think that there's not too early of a time. I think 9th grade, 10th grade, you should definitely start thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, does anyone else have anything briefly to add?
I was just gonna say, I think I agree with that. Just starting as early as you can. I know when I was like a freshman, I didn't think too seriously about college yet. And I had no idea where I would be ending up in, 4 years. But like honestly, by sophomore year, I was already doing research on colleges and stuff. And it's even if you're ahead of that, like it's totally fine. Just I would say definitely like by junior year is a good year to start kind of like doing research and maybe even like visiting schools nearby if you have your eye on something.
Yeah, thank you. I think that all of that you guys both gave really good advice. I think this is all very valuable. There was one other question that I think we should touch on briefly before we have to go, because I know everyone's super busy and this is a very busy time of the year for everyone. But I think another really big deterrent is cost, because college is kind of, the sticker price is a bit intimidating. And anyway, basically, oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, what advice do you guys have about like how can you afford college? Santi, were you gonna answer that?
Yeah, so Cornell was actually my cheapest option. And so a lot of schools that are considered like more competitive, they have need-based financial aid, which that means that it's based on your household income, not on like merit. And so if you're somebody who thinks, oh, I can't afford the sticker price of a college, you should look into need-based institutions like Cornell, because they do offer full rides to students who under a certain amount. And the amount is actually pretty high, because at some of these schools, the sticker price is a bit ridiculous. And another thing that you could do is research scholarships. UHS has scholarships. I got a scholarship to attend Cornell, and it definitely like it made it possible. I wouldn't be here without a scholarship, and so those are definitely just great avenues to you're not even paying for college and having somebody else pay for it. So it's definitely a great option. So I would say look into need-based institutions if you can.
Also, I was gonna add, fill out your FAFSA as soon as possible. Like, it's like no joke. Like, as soon as you get the chance to fill out your FAFSA, do it. And just like fill out the scholarships, because like honestly, a lot of people, like, the scholarships just exist, and a lot of times people just don't fill them out. And so like there's just scholarships that need to be like used, and just like apply.
Yeah, totally. I think both of you guys, that is so true. Private institutions, I know the U of I gives a lot of scholarships and is also in state, but private institutions have so much money that they just want to give away. So that is definitely, like, if you're lower income or middle class, that is definitely a good place to look. I know we're hosting on November 9th. We're having our FAFSA night, and I know Ms. Stuckemeyer has sent out information about that. Also, this year, I know some colleges, if you're applying early action, you can fill out a CSS profile, which you can find through College Board. Just go there, sign in, and search CSS. And that is something that you can send to colleges before the FAFSA if you're applying early decision or early action and want your stuff beforehand. But we have run out of time. So all the unanswered questions that people asked, and especially like the more specific ones, we will send follow-up information. But also we have our website, which I'm going to drop in the chat, and we will have like all of the questions and stuff and resources in there. So please feel free to check that out. But thank you to everyone who talked. I really appreciate UHS alum coming back and giving advice. You're giving back to where you came from, and I really appreciate it. And also thank you, Erin. This is really grateful. We're really grateful for this. And then also thank you, Ms. Stuckemeyer, and thank you, Kanita, and thank you, Susan. You guys are all so wonderful. We have so many resources, and we need to take advantage of them. So thank you to everyone who came. And if you guys have any follow-up questions, just hit us up. Just hit up PTSA as well as our website, and we will send out more information. So bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.